The show is supported by you, our listener. Stick around till after the news to hear a tiny, tiny bit more about that. This is Cup of Go for Friday, May 1st, 2026. Keep up to date with the important happenings in the Go community in about 20 minutes per week, maybe 10 today. I don't know. I'm Jonathan Hall.
I'm Shai Nechmad.
Happy May Day.
Yeah, International Workers' Day. Fight the power. Seize the means of compilation, etc.
Let's talk about some Go news.
Yeah, we have a very interesting interview coming up for y'all with Tomasz about like the nature of vibe coding and his new cool open source project and whatever. We actually just finished recording it like a few minutes ago, and I just want to wholeheartedly recommend you stick around for that. But we do have some Go news to get through.
It is critical that you stick around.
It is critical that you stick around.
First up, have you ever heard of kin-openapi, Shai?
I have, just as an alternative to the correct OpenAPI library, libopenapi. Why? Why are you asking?
Because they support OpenAPI 3.1 now.
Oh, you know who else supports OpenAPI 3.1 now?
Python?
All right, explain. Please explain.
OpenAPI 3.1 is, of course, an improvement over OpenAPI 3. I don't know the technical details. I know the last time I tried to use OpenAPI, I wasn't able to use 3.1 because the Go tools I wanted to use didn't support it yet, but now it does, or at least kin-openapi does. But as you've already alluded to, that's not the only option in the Go community for OpenAPI. Why would we consider others?
I guess the reason is because OpenAPI is not part of the standard library. So, alternatives can arise, which is good, I guess, in competition and whatever. Although parsing OpenAPI files is is so much work. I sort of hate seeing so many people do the same work. But, there are differences in implementation and like design and whatever. I guess that's the reason. It's not standard library, so there can be alternatives, right?
So which is the correct one in your view?
I don't mind saying it. We had both people from both camps on the show.
Yes, we had.
We had Quobix of Princess Beef, who's the main developer behind libopenapi.
Hello everyone, my name is Quobix and I'm the founder of a company called Princess Beef Heavy Industries, or PB33F for short. It's shorter when you say it, versus typing out.
And of course we had Jamie Tenna, who's is a long-term friend of the show. He came on a few times during the live episode as well. That was pretty dope. And he is working on, among like many things, OpenAPI CodeGen, which uses kin-openapi.
I'm a senior software engineer at Elastic, where I work in our engineering productivity team, and I have been involved in Go stuff for about 2 and a bit years. When I joined Deliveroo, I joined into a team working on Go, and since then I've just fallen in love with the language, don't want to use anything else.
So, I welcome all in this house. But I am particularly partial to libopenapi and the Princess Beef suite of tools. They're like daily drivers for me, and they just work really well. So I don't know. And they're very recently, they have like a lot of releases, like working on this all the time. Dave is just yesterday released, a small version. To me, that's a good indicator of health. Although, kin is also obviously actively developed. They're both sort of actively developed. I guess you can pick your poison. Yeah. Kin is slightly more popular. I don't know if that's a good metric or not.
Cool. Well, what else?
There's a new Git release.
Is Git written in Go now? Why are we talking about Git?
So we're talking about Git for a few reasons, but I assume you use it. Like you type the Git command every now and then.
I guess that's true. Right? I do. Now that I think about it, I do use Git occasionally.
Yeah. So this new release has just a couple of new keywords that I found interesting. There's Git history reword if you just want to edit a commit message, which is nice. Okay. Git history split if you want to split a commit, which is nice. Config based hooks. So I don't know if you use pre-commit hooks a lot. I know I do in every single project. Now it's like sort of built into Git, Although I'm going to give it a couple of versions to settle before I move, because I've used Brecommit like for years and years and years. The reason we're talking about it is because there's, of course, the Go Git project. And I was interested, with all these new features, how is Go Git like keeping up? Because, Git is such a big project. How do you maintain it? And I was very interested to see the direction that Go Git was taking. So let me ask you first, do you know of Go Git?
I do. I'm using it in a project.
What are you using it for?
To interact with Git without
without
shelling out to the without invoking shell commands. So I use it to clone and to create commits and to push and stuff like that.
It is interesting to see the direction this project is going. So other than the latest release, which was like a couple of weeks ago, they're working on a big V6 release. And when I looked at like the plans for that release, I was very surprised at the amount of work that went into it until I looked into the developers behind it. Have you heard of Entire.io? So it's the GitHub CEO, former CEO, is doing like an agentic development thing. And they have 60 million seed round for, I don't know. I actually tried using it and didn't work like when they just came out with it. Maybe now it's better. But it's like view the entire history of all your agentic flows, whatever. And it heavily, heavily, heavily relies on Git, just in terms of implementation. Seems like they sort of hired the Go Git maintainer full time or something like that. And the V6 release, which includes a ton of reliability fixes, some cleanups, making sure that the Git features are actually added, like Git reset and, auto CRLF and linked work tree and all these features that are very uniquely positioned, and partial clones. All these features that are very uniquely positioned to help Entire.io are going into this V6 release, which is really, really cool. Like it may sound like I'm worried about something, but I'm not. It's still a community open source project, but now there's a strong commercial user behind it, which is prioritizing work that is very, very relevant. So I thought that was very, very cool, and sort of a shift in a relatively big Go project. Like I've used Go Git a few times in the past. Like a lot of people know this library. And if you ever do like development tooling, internal or otherwise, this might impact you as well. And honestly, mostly positively. So very cool. The V6 version is going to be breaking though. So it might take, it might be painful to upgrade, but I don't know how breaking it can be. Maybe if you just use like very edge casey project, sort of features.
All right. Pause here, Filippo. I don't see my name on anything else here. We didn't get very far down this list. What else do you want to do here? Should I talk about something else? Or
I think this tweet from Mitchell Hashimoto about like doing Go and how positive is it for vibe coding is actually super relevant to our interview that's coming up.
Next up, we have a proposal. It's not a big foundation shaking one, but it's kind of cool. And then I think we'll jump into our interview probably. But the proposal is it's just been accepted, add a new analyzer called Atomic to the Go analysis package and tool. I don't know if you've ever done this, Shai. Have you ever used atomic.add-int32?
I did.
Yeah,
I literally did. I don't remember when, but I remember like using these functions. But like when you develop, like race safe. Not race safe in the California sense that you're not allowed to talk about race. Race safe in the threads sense. You like a counter that doesn't have a mutex or something like that.
Right.
What's the problem? What's the problem with my function?
Well, there's nothing per se wrong with it. But yeah, you're exactly right. So if you need to say increment or otherwise modify an integer atomically, you can do this without using a mutex. The thing is that as of Go 1.19, which is now almost 100 years old, we have a new version. There's the atomic.int32, which just gives you slightly better ergonomics. For the same thing. So the proposal is basically just to sort of update this stuff for you in line. And it's not just a single add. It does a number of things related to atomic numbers and strings. And, there's a fair number of these, I think, that are being updated. Kind of cool. It'll sort of give you cleaner, more modern code, essentially for free.
And there's a few analyzers here. There's atomic types, which you've mentioned, plus build, strings cut, STD iterators, embed lit. I don't even know what that one is, but there is a few like checks that existed already in Go vet, and now they are becoming like Go modernize comments.
Exactly. So cool. this isn't new functionality.
Basically, going to make old Go code better, by default, right?
Right. So this isn't per se new functionality; it's just exposing it in a new way. So when you run Go, is it Go modernize? Is that the name of the tool? It will update these things for you.
So I think this Go modernize, by the way, came in at such a perfect time because my thinking was, this is just on like old code. Eventually, all this code will be modernized, it's whatever. But snake eating is own tail Ouroboros style. I think models have a really have a tendency to generate old looking code because they were trained on like old looking code. And I can really imagine how a model will generate like var x int 32 instead of using var x atomic.int 32, right? So I don't know. This does change code, but I would add it right next to Go format, like Go modernize.
Makes it easier for you to vibe code in confidence, right?
Which is very important, as we're about to find out in this interview that's coming up. Let's do a quick ad break and jump directly to that. Welcome to our ad break. Taking a brief intermission before our interview starts. Thank you very much to our supporters on Patreon for directly supporting the show. We really, really appreciate y'all. If you want to join, you can find the link to joining our Patreon, seeing all past episodes, searching their content, which is something I do more and more recently, finding all the app links, including Apple Music, Pocket Cast, Overcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. And even buying stuff from our swag store, which includes our Go Sucks socks, the 3rd anniversary Cup of Go sticker, Range Rover Brewster recursive Cup of Go sticker, the new cap, which I'm using as my daily driver hat, which is nice, and the Cup of Go mug, of course. I am ashamed to admit that the Cup of Go shirts have been with me long enough that they have now been delegated to pajamas. I strictly wear them as pajamas because they're a bit too old, but the logo still holds up. So you can find all of that at cupogo.dev. That is cupogo.dev, including links to our Slack channel and our email and all of that. Last week in passing, I mentioned that we have passed over 200,000. Am I saying that correctly? 200,000 downloads?
We, as of right now, 207,040.
That is crazy. Well done, Jonathan. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I did it by myself, too.
This is the moment where the listeners discover I'm actually just a sock puppet that you've been holding on your hand this entire time.
Some of our listeners have met you in person, so I don't know how well that's going to hold up, that claim.
I don't know. That's a crazy number to me. I really obviously podcast. You've mentioned this a few times. That podcast analytics are kind of elusive.
Yes, indeed.
But just from even the in-person impact I've felt in San Francisco since moving here, and the amount of people that like know the podcast and whatever, I know that there are like real listeners in the world, and that is really, really cool. We really appreciate all of you listening. Just another milestone.
I want to ask you a question, Shaib. Can you guess when was the last time we had an episode that had fewer than 1,000 downloads?
Wow, I don't know. I really don't know. An episode that had fewer than 1,000 downloads.
Yes.
Maybe like 2025 ish.
Farther back.
No way.
December 6, 2024 was the last episode that had fewer than 1,000 downloads.
All right. I guess that episode's really sucked. Oh my God. That's a lot of time.
Pretty amazing.
That's a big responsibility, man. 1,000 people listening to every word we're saying here.
And our most popular episode was the Go 1.26 one, the really long one. That one had over 2,000 downloads.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think not even normal. Well, I don't want to say non-normal. That sounds bad. I mean, like the non-regular listeners. Yeah, not the people who are subscribed to the show, but just they want to learn about that specific version, I think. Also, it's really well named. It's like very, very clickbaity, 240% better. You know what I mean? Working our clickbait muscles. So we just wanted to, sometimes it's cool to nerd out about the stats, and we want to do that. Thank you all very much for listening and all your attention. You wanted to mention a meetup that's coming up.
Yes. One last thing I want to mention before the interview. May 11, I will be speaking at the Atlanta Builder Night, little meetup here in Atlanta. If you're around, it's not going to be Go specifically, although I'll talk about Go a little bit. Mainly talking about how I use agents for coding on a daily basis, which is quite relevant to what we're talking about on this interview. So if you're in the Atlanta area, I'd love to shake your hand on May 11.
Very cool. Very cool. I wouldn't be able to make it because I will not be in the Atlanta area at that time.
Oh, sad.
Yeah, if I could, I would. All right. We are coming up on the interview. It was structured kind of weirdly, so I just want to give like 30 seconds of context before we start. I started using Tomasz's tool called Crit, which is why all the jokes about Crit.
Critical distinction to make there. Yes.
Yeah. And in one sentence, it's a tool that lets you review agent plans and code. So if you're working with agents, it's like a local tool and it's written in Go. I think that's enough context for you to get started. And it's really good, which you'll hear me say again and again over the interview. I really I like it when I find a new local tool and it's actually good. So yeah, enjoy the interview. And I guess we'll talk to you all next week. Hey, John, did you see this blog post from OpenAI about where the goblins came from?
No.
They have all these critters stepping into models. I don't know why, but the model is just spawning critters everywhere, like goblins and gremlins and all that stuff.
Okay.
If only they had a critter or a crit-related ability to review their stuff.
That was a bad one.
Oh, hi, Tomasz.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
I think that was a critically bad joke.
A critically bad intro.
Yeah. Hi, Tomasz. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi. Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you too. How about you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Tomasz Tomczyk. I'm a software engineer, staff engineer at Vetspire, where I've been for the past 6 years now. And as of maybe December, I'd probably label myself as a vibe coder a little bit. When it comes to my side projects anyway, I still write some code by hand for my actual day job. But yeah, all my side projects are now Claude offered, I would say.
Claude powered.
So you said vibe coding. I think we should talk about that first, just so everybody's listening knows what you're talking about, because there's so many definitions of vibe coding out there. What do you mean by vibe coding?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a spectrum, and I'm not on the side of it where I don't look at any of the code. I don't care what happened, and I'm just shipping continuously, right? I think there's layers to it. If you just trust your agents to do everything for you, you are going to get slop, right? Mm-hmm. I hope what I ship in my side projects is a little bit better than slop. There's probably most definitely ways to improve it, but the thing about vibe coding, you can ship useful things with it, but I think the way to accomplish that is by continuously reviewing what's going on. Obviously, that's where my product comes in, and I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit. Yeah, you cannot trust the agents to do anything. You have to continuously check. So in terms of my process, I try to have specialized agents that do the work that I ask them to do with multiple steps of review, both human, that's me, as well as other agents. Ideally, you'd weave in some multiple models, different tooling, etc. At the moment, I'm kind of getting far enough, getting good results with just Claude, wearing different hats. Claude as a Go expert, Claude as a front-end expert, Claude as a dev evangelist. So the first thing when I started the product Crit was I asked Claude to make a prompt for an expert Go developer, because Claude recommended I use Go for my product, and I don't actually know Go. I've never written a line of Go. So one of the first things was spending time iterating on what a prompt for that agent could look like. And I fed it, I asked Claude to find the best community project in Go, find the best practices from each one, establish a baseline of what good looks like, and that should be the guidelines that this agent works in. And I've done the same for other aspects of the languages, or other languages that I work in. I work in Elixir. That's my day job. Obviously, there's front-end components to both my day job and Crit. So I have a dedicated agent for kind of each specialty, each language, framework, etc. So yeah, going back to the idea of vibe coding, I do let Claude loose with fairly high-level prompts, but then the moment I get a plan for something, that's something that I want to review, I want to eyeball it. I might not know Go, but I know what kind of good looks like in programming in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use Crit, Dogfood Init for reviewing any plans, and then leave granular feedback, iterate until it looks good. And then once I'm happy with the plan, I hit approve and Claude executes it. That goes through more layers of reviews. So
you say reviews, you mean you review the product, right? Because you said you don't write Go, but Crit, the product that brought us here on this conversation together, is written in Go, which is why I reached out to you in the first place. Because oh my God, such a cool Go project. It's so useful. By the way, spread like wildfire in my team. Like this week, nobody knew about it. The end of this week, everybody's using it.
Amazing.
Or at least, installed it and ran the thing once. But you say review, you mean review the outcome, like use the product and make sure that it works or something, not actually review code? Or do you read the code and try to understand what it means, even though you don't really know the syntax, just because you're experienced enough to like be able to read any language?
Yeah, so I'm definitely not experienced enough to know what good Go looks like, but to kind of step through the workflow again. So most features, even small, medium features, start with a plan, right? So I ask expert Go agent to write a plan for implementing a particular feature in Crit. That produces a markdown file, which I then launch in Crit. And I eyeball it, right? I might not give specific feedback on whatever standard library it's using or the syntax it's using and so on, but I kind of know what good looks like in programming in general, and there's enough generic stuff that I can comment on so I can correct it or ask it to do some more in-depth research on, hey, I feel like we have something like this implemented in our code base already. Even if I can't point to it exactly, that's enough to let Claude can discover that. And because of those multiple iterations on the plan, it just produces a more solid plan, right? And then that becomes a prompt for a next fresh agent to implement it. We do it on a work tree. And then again, before any of the code hits me, I ask after the implementation, hey, go back to another fresh agent with Go expertise or front-end expertise or whatever the feature calls for, and have another review. It always catches things, right? Just having one round of things with these agents will not produce anything of high quality. Mm-hmm. So then once that feature passes all the internal Claude's audits and reviews, that's when I check it out, right? So I launch it, and it's super easy to automate a lot of this stuff as well. So I have end-to-end playwright tests on all of it, or most of it, as well as makefile scripts that will launch Crit in specific modes, simulating different Git repos, different markdown files, different states of the review. And it literally gives me 6-8 links of, hey, eyeball this version of crit in all these modes. So that's when, again, that human review layer is essential for producing something of higher or high-ish quality. Mm-hmm. And again, at the end of the day, the code isn't going to be as good as what you guys or your audience would have written probably in Go, right? And even after all these checks, it's not going to be the best. I do as much in terms of guardrails around it as possible. So all the linting, all the formatting. I saw Go has Go report card, and I was like, love it. Let's get it in there. So anything that you can automate in terms of the linting checks and so on will be beneficial. And
it's worth noting that you have an A+ on your report.
Yes, I don't know how unusual. I don't know how unusual this is for your code bases. It didn't feel that hard for Claude to achieve that. But yeah, A+ feels good. Great. I'll take anything that is automated and objective, right? If we have similar checks and kind of libraries around code style and so on in Elixir. So yeah, if your language has something like that, then it's better for agents to work with. Then at the end of all of that, we have a feature that I've tested both with as much automation as possible as well as my own human eyeballs and clicking around, and then I ship it, right? But the problem with vibe coding is you ship that, then you ship another feature and another feature that might overlap in some areas of the code. And then because of your prompts were quite specific, hey, just implement this feature, implement this other feature. It doesn't really think about what does the architecture look like as a whole. So my kind of way of combating this and combating the slop that would be produced as a result of these continuous iterations is every 6 or a dozen or so PRs, depending on the size of them, I do an audit. Look at all the things that we've done since the last audit and look at them holistically, right? So again, this goes back to those expert agents. So Claude puts on his Go hat and looks at all of the Go written in that batch. And then it sees opportunities for refactoring and abstraction or, any tests that should be needed now that we've got these features maybe interacting and so on.
This might be a stupid question, but how much did crit, maybe we should talk about what crit does for a second before we continue talking about how to build
fair.
it. Jonathan, did you get a chance to use it yet or no?
No, I just looked at the webpage.
So I actually used it. This is how Tomasz and I got in contact. You posted it, I think, in Rands or somewhere.
Yeah.
In AI coding channels around the web. And I was like, oh my God, this looks really cool. I installed it, and it's been my number one way to interact with longer plans, bigger features, sort of introducing new infrastructure to my project. Infrastructure, not like cloud infrastructure like a big module that I actually need to think about. Let me describe what it does for my usage, and then maybe you can correct me.
Sure.
But I think it would be interesting to get a user's perspective. So, Jonathan, how you use plan mode in Claude or whatever codex.
Yeah.
And then it finishes the plan. And then what do? You need to scroll up in your terminal and then write comments, and you write them down, I don't know, somewhere. And there are maybe 5 comments you wanted to fix. And you're like, okay, number 1 in section whatever, where you do this, and then you type it in the terminal, then you accidentally press enter. And it's oh, damn, another context window wasted or whatever. So this is a web interface you open up for the plan, and then you can comment on it like GitHub comment style. And you click, I'm done. You're comment. Don't do it like this. Review the agent's MD. You should actually do it like that. Never use these type of things. Don't do this. Do that. You can give role level comments on the plan in a very GitHub-y sort of way. Not GitHub-y in the sense that it's down all the time, but GitHub-y in the sense that it's like the web interface for code review with comments. And then you're like done. And I don't know about you, but at least in my company, even we still do human code reviews on PRs because we deal with like highly regulated data and whatever. So I want to review my code before I put it out. And then you can do it with Crit as well. Like you're done reviewing the plan, you press review, the agent fixes all the things, you fix all the comments, you're like, looks good, start coding. Claude does its thing, codes. When it's done, you can run Crit again, and this time it's like a PR review. You review the code itself to make sure that it lined up with the plan you wanted, and you can put comments on the code itself. For me, the plan review has been the most useful. At some point, I just like am fed up with all these interfaces and just open up my editor and edit code manually, like it's 2021. Yeah, it's been like super transformative for my plan workflow because I was kind of frustrated with planning my work with agents because it felt like a lot of clunky work in the terminal. But this has been like a UX unlock for me. Is there any features that I missed or a big idea, Tomasz, that is like exists in Crit and like, I can't believe you didn't click this button or whatever?
There is, but thank you for this very thorough explanation. Honestly, I might try and adopt that into my elevator pitch. Yeah, you've done a great job describing it.
You can put it like, you know how when there's books at the back of the book, it's like, it's completely transformed my life. You can take testimonials. It's recorded. It's completely transformed my development workflow. Shai Nechmad, some asshole with a microphone.
I do have testimonials on the website. I will include you as seen on Couple Go. But yeah, I think you covered like 95% of it. I started it off as a tool for providing feedback for the markdown files because the experience of doing it in the terminal, scrolling up and down, you want to be granular, so you copy paste bits, and then it's just a very painful process. So I wanted that GitHub style interface, and then naturally the next thing was, okay, well, can I do it for code as well without going to GitHub and then having Claude look at my GitHub pull request and so on? That felt clunky. So with Claude, it was fairly easy to adopt the interface to displaying diffs. So that was the natural extension of it. There are more things, I'd say maybe like more advanced use cases or features that you haven't mentioned. One that I really like a lot is sharing. So you have your plan locally, but a lot of teams haven't figured out, do we submit plans as a PR to get feedback from others in the team? I know of teams who use Google Docs, copy-pasting Markdown into it to be able to leave those granular comments on a specific line, right? Unless you have a PR, it's hard. But PR feels like a heavy process for just reviewing some Markdown. Mm-hmm. You can copy-paste it into a gist on GitHub, but that doesn't allow you to leave granular comments. So, with Crit, you can share your local Markdown files or whatever files you put into Crit, which then goes to CritMD, gives you a public anonymous link, share it with a team. Anyone from your team can comment. And then the prompt from the web version of it, you paste back to your local agent and say, hey, fetch the comments, the feedback, let's act on it, let's iterate. So that was one of the first things I did with like a hosted version of Crit, because I wanted some feedback on my plans from my team, but I didn't want to quite put it in GitHub. And then kind of side effect of that I didn't realize at the time. I don't know if you use Claude or whatever agent you're using on mobile, but I often kind of start a plan on my desktop, go out, finish planning something from my mobile phone, and then I can't review it until I'm back because I'm not going to review that Markdown file on my phone. But you can use Crit to say to Claude, hey, share it with Crit, which gives you a link. and then you open the responsive version of Crit MD, and that makes it a little bit easier to actually read the text and leave comments and so on.
Do you find yourself using like the phone thing? I've tried, you know how Claude has remote control? I was like, man, I'm going to go to the gym and code at the same time. And turns out I can't, I don't know, maybe I'm just too old, but I can't like text and do something else at the same time. So I can't text my wife and work out, and I can't text Claude and work out. I can't do these things at the same time.
I find myself finishing conversations. I still haven't figured out a good way of starting new conversations, because it feels like, that it doesn't quite have that feature. I think Dispatch is meant for it, but it uses the Claude's desktop, I believe. But frequently, I have a lot of follow-ups on my conversations with Claude from my phone while at the gym, while going to pick up my kid from school or whatever, and just unblocking it. So I leave my Mac booted 24/7 now, just to be able to finish those conversations and unblock it. I do run with dangerously skip permissions on Claude, so it doesn't get stopped as much on permissions. But if there is a decision point it is stuck on, then I continue through the mobile interface.
Cool.
How long has Crit been public?
Since February.
Okay.
Mid-February is when I started open source straight away. Started sharing it quite quickly. Yeah, I had really good response from day one. It's something that I use every day, right? It's kind of nice that it's a product that I can dog food, not only for building Crit itself, which I do, but also all my day jobs. So even though it is a side project that I'm mostly looking at in the weekends and evenings, it is something that I interact with every day, multiple times a day. And I think if you are a heavy agent user, you will find yourself making a lot of plans and multitasking plans, right? And the feedback I had from the users has been very, very kind, very, very overwhelming in terms of the positive response. And I think it makes it easier to produce better work, because previously when I was faced with those huge markdown files, I'd probably just say, looks good to me a bit sooner than I should have in reality. And then you end up wasting more time when it comes to the code, if you are looking at the code.
I've certainly experienced that where I'm like, this looks okay, and I approve it, and then it does something, and I'm like, why in the world did you do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Who the hell approved
the plan?
this?
Like, okay.
Just did what the plan said, boss. Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing. Like, I would miss a lot of things when looking at Markdown in a terminal without the formatting and so on. It sounds maybe silly, but if you use something like superpowers, I don't know if you guys have used them. Is essentially more skills about like writing detailed plans and a couple other features. I use it heavily for writing plans, but it likes to be very, very verbose and writing code in those plans as well, which is great, but much harder to review in the terminal.
Yeah.
And in the interest of trying to understand the flow, started in February, and like you said, you're an Elixir developer, which admittedly both Jonathan and I don't know. I think it's pretty. I don't know if it's considered like very niche, but I've never seen it at like the top, like Python, JavaScript, and Elixir. It's like relatively niche. How do you start a open source project and just decide to go with Go? Was it I needed a single local binary? I just wanted to experiment with Go because it seems cool. I wanted to get on the podcast. Like, what was the justification behind picking Go? Because my thinking was I use agents, and maybe I'm wrong, but when I use agents, I'm like, I want to only use stuff that I know really, really, really well. So if the agent goes off the rails, I know how to fix it. So I'm like the backup expert. But maybe I'm thinking about this incorrectly.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I'm only here because
how Claude of you to say.
I think if I could have used Elixir, I would have. But for one thing, I asked Claude, does this app exist? It said no. That was enough for me to proceed. Okay, how do we build it? And it recommended Go. For reasons I'll get into in a second. If I felt confident about delivering this in Elixir, I would have preferred that for the reasons you mentioned, right? I'm confident in Go. I'm confident in Elixir. I can course correct agents. So, but the thing about Elixir, it's not that it's niche language. I don't think that is the reason not to use it. But it's not quite the right fit, I don't think. In terms of bundling Elixir applications to use as a single binary, it's not really officially supported. There is a community package called Burrito, which is a great name for a package, that allows you to ship a binary out of your Elixir application. But yeah, it's not quite the first-class citizen, I would say, in our community. And it would ship a much bigger binary. So, which I think is kind of things that start smelling to developers, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm installing something that should be lightweight, but suddenly it's a couple 100 megabytes package that I'm downloading from Brew, then that would be a red flag, right? Mm-hmm. But the audience for this tool is developers, and they're going to be very critical, looking at this with a very critical eye. So yeah, I think that's where Go's strengths kind of shine, because it has that first class citizen support for single binary build. The standard library in Go has covered like 95% of what I need for this product, which, I actually asked Claude, hey, if we were to rewrite this in Elixir, what would be the cost in terms of like third-party packages and so on? And yeah, there's a lot more that I would need to bring in, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it just felt like we'd be stepping away from this lean, simple tool, lightweight tool that I aspired for this to become. And I think Go is also because of the kind of strengths we talked about earlier with like linting and all the tooling support, built-in formatter, all that stuff, which Elixir also has a lot of those. But Go was like the next best choice, and ultimately the better choice in terms of the fit for that lightweight single binary that I hoped to achieve. And at the end of the day, if I'm going to be producing something with agents, I'm not going to be reviewing every single line of code, even if it is Elixir. Yeah, if Claude is more comfortable in Go for this purpose, that's fine by me. We can ride with it, and hopefully I've put enough guardrails around the project to prevent slop and prevent issues. And then in the end, so I don't know if you've seen the web server component of Crit, the hosted service CritMD is written in Elixir, because that's where you're going to be sharing something to an external service, and that is something where people might share sensitive plans or files, whatever. There's authorization in play, security, all that stuff. That is where, okay, I can pull that off with Elixir just fine. In addition to having like a multiplayer components, having multiple people commenting on the same review at the same time. I think that's Elixir's strengths, right? So that real-time processing. We have a web framework called Phoenix with LiveView, literally built for real-time applications on WebSockets. And yeah, that's something that just felt like a better choice. And also I feel more comfortable having that in Elixir, where there is security aspects behind it. It's not just a local tool at this point. Sorry, I was rambling a lot there.
I just pulled up the go.mod for Crit, and it has 3 external dependencies, direct ones. And one is golang.org/x/term, which is almost standard library anyway. And the other two look like they're related to QR codes. Is that
yeah?
right?
It's probably just a nice to have, because when you share a review with the CritMD service, I print in the terminal and on the web browser, depending where you share from, a QR code, so you can scan it on your phone and take it on the go.
Makes
yeah,
sense.
and the QR library, I think it's also, I mean, it's quasi standard, right? Isn't it Russ's library? Or am I? You know what I mean?
I think
Russ
it
developed
is Russ Cox's library. So that's almost standard library also.
It's as standard library as it gets.
He was the lead of the Go team at Google for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad my development team made good choices.
Yes.
Looking forward, do you think, because, obviously, if you, like you said, if I open up this project right now and I'm a Go developer, there are things that jump out to me. At the very least, all the files are in the main library. Main is kind of big. It's like, I don't know, 3,000 lines or whatever. It has all this code for just a tiny example. I would, when I'm developing CLIs, I always want to use a CLI library to keep my help string in check. In this case, it's just written somewhere in these 3,000 lines. Am I like out of touch that I'm saying, oh, Tomasz, I'm worried about the maintainability of this project? Like, is this just not true anymore? Do you think this project will be like long-term maintainable, or do you see, if it succeeds really widely and a lot of people use it and whatever, okay, now it's time to actually write it? Or is this the actual like code? Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes I vibe code stuff and then I'm like, oh, well, it's okay that I don't really agree with how the code is structured or 100% of the decisions, because this is just a draft. Like, when I'll develop it, air quotes, for real, then I'll I'll do an architecture or whatever. Am I missing the plot here? Do you think this is the like final version?
I think I'd probably say, it's 80% final in terms of it's what I would like to think good enough for the purpose, right? I think in terms of maintainability by humans, it's a risk. I mean, if you took Claude away from me today, I would not be able to maintain this, right? Hopefully, no one's going to take Claude away from me. And the models
from my cold dead hands.
Yeah. Hopefully the models will continue to get better. I mean, just the improvements we've seen in the last 4 or 5 months have been tremendous with Opus 4.6 and OpenAI's equivalent GPT 5.4 or whatever. So I think it's going to get better. The stuff that I have there now absolutely could be improved. Hopefully it doesn't cause massive issues for the end user. Because when I think about the production apps I was involved in during my career, a lot of them had similar sort of maintainability issues as the code produced with AI today, right? If anything, I think AI is smarter about a lot of things, and it does produce some slop here and there. I'm hoping that the continuous refactors and audits that I mentioned will eventually call out, hey, this file is getting too big, or this function's getting too complicated, and so on. So I'm not too stressed about it until I see GitHub issues from your listeners telling me how bad it all is. So yeah, we shall see.
So I just, for the heck of it, pulled up plans.go.
Oh no.
And
oh, it's starting. It's a roast.
No.
Here's the roast part of the podcast.
Hear me out. So I'm looking at latest plans version, and I can see what it wrote is not terrible. It could be improved, but I don't think it matters. Like it uses scanf to convert a string to a number. Like it could use strconf for something, probably be a little bit more efficient, a little more clear what it's doing. It's doing some unnecessary error checking. It and it checks prefixes and suffixes twice, and it doesn't need to. These are the kinds of things I wouldn't expect an Elixir dev to see, right?
No.
So these aren't big deals. It's just like it's probably 30% longer than it needs to be, and it's not the most CPU efficient for something that doesn't matter anyway. This isn't a tight loop where efficiency matters. So if this is the only example I'm looking at, and it will be, for at least for the sake of the show.
Thank you.
This is exactly what I would sort of expect from Claude. It works. It's not tight. It's not necessarily perfectly idiomatic, but it's functional. I mean, not this would be relevant for this particular function, but there aren't any like gaping security holes or anything like that either.
So it gets Jonathan's seal of approval, is what you're saying? I'll say as a user, it's a kick-ass product. Like, I know that we want to nerd out. We want to nerd about like how it's built and the code and is it maintainable and why did you pick Go and another blah, blah, blah. But it's a cool product, and I assume a lot of people who listen to this use like Claude and or another coding agent with like the plan mode. You should try it out. Mm-hmm. I just say it because I'm about to say in the same breath. I do wonder if you say the models are getting better. I do wonder, and you don't have to share like a specific price. I'm just trying to understand how much did this project like cost? Obviously, your time is very, very expensive, but let's put that aside. I'm trying to understand, like, is this like in a billion gajillion tokens, or was this like just one?
That's a good question. I don't have metrics on the token usage. I'm on the $200 subscription for Claude. So.
And
whatever that's enough for my day job and side projects. So yeah, I stopped looking at my token usage when I got upgraded to that subscription tier, and haven't looked back. So yeah, good enough in terms of token usage. I will plug maybe there's a Claude plugin, context mode, which I'm happy to link later, that apparently caches a lot of the calls that Claude makes, which saves on a lot of the token usage. Something that I adopted from the earlier tiers of Claude. So I'm not 100% sure I would need it, but it's been saving tokens for sure.
So what I'm hearing is it's not like you need a billion tokens, gas downs, whatever, to be able to build this sort of project. Like one subscription should be enough. And
if anything, I'm being maybe overly wasteful with some of my token usage, because you could probably especially if you know Go, you probably don't need all of these layers of reviews that I mentioned. Hey, spawn a plan. Okay, review the plan independently. Okay, then implement the plan. Okay, then review against the implementation against the plan that we set out to do, and then do whatever other checks, right? So if you are very comfortable with the language, you can probably save some tokens by doing that. If you have tokens to spare, I think that will just save you some time anyway. And then for a lot of the things, especially on the UX and UI front-end side of things for Crit, I've adopted like a design exploration skill. If I want to add a feature and I'm not quite sure what it should look like, I have a reusable skill that launches 5-6 different agents implementing the same feature on like a mocked HTML CSS file to show me what that feature could look like from the perspective of different companies. And it picks companies depending on the feature. So a lot of the inspiration for the UI is GitHub, so that's a natural one. But we compare against like an iteration from you're a senior designer at Linear, you're a senior designer at Notion, or whatever. And I get like 5-6 different mock-ups of these companies, senior designers researching their style language, their design language, and giving me this standalone example of what this feature could look like if it was designed by those companies. And then I pick out the best elements from each, and say Claude implement a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and that's how most of my recent design work on Crit has been implemented through that kind of exploration and stealing and inspiration from these agents based on these companies. But yeah, you don't have to do that to make a successful product or usable product. In terms of features, the same thing works the same way for all these variations. But yeah, I like to experiment. I like to be picky. I still would like to think that the human layer of review is important for making something stand out. Because everyone's making products now, right? It's much harder to stand out with just having a product. It needs to be a pleasant product to use. And I'd like to think that good taste matters still in terms of that UX, UI layer. So hopefully that's something that I provide. And that's again, stepping away from that vibe coding approach where you just let Claude rip on everything and don't look at what's it even produced. It's definitely not what I would advise.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So normally we ask our guests a question about Go. I'm going to change it a little bit since you are admittedly not a Go developer. And that is just like, what are your impressions of working with Go for this project? What have you seen that you like? What have you seen that you don't like?
I mean, we talked about this briefly, but the standard library covering just about everything I've needed so far besides QR code generation, which
we need to open a proposal to add QRs to the standard library.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this before I came onto the show. What's my perspective on the language as a outsider, and how does it compare to Elixir? And I think there's a lot that is similar in terms of developer experience is prioritized and is part of the language core. Like it might sound simple, but even like the formatter and all the linting tooling around it, I think that makes a huge difference in terms of coming into a project in a given language and having that low surprise factor. Mm-hmm. That's what Elixir has. That's what Go has. But then you look at JavaScript projects and it's not quite the same. Thing I thought interesting, and it's probably not a big deal to you guys, but looking at GitHub's repo for Go, the amount of issues you have open compared to Elixir. In Elixir right now, we have 17 issues and 7 pull requests, which you might think, oh, it's a niche language. It has no interest. No one's working on it, which would be a little bit unfair. But that's because I think Joseph Valim, who spearheads the Elixir development, considers it largely implemented, done. It's usable. And we have a little bit more in terms of, okay, that belongs to a third-party library scope rather than standard library, which is why maybe there's that difference where, you have a lot of proposals for what should be included in the standard library, which is fascinating. So yeah, that's, I guess, something that stood out as a difference in approach. But yeah, I think Go makes it easy to produce high quality applications, even if they are a bit sloppy. And I think it makes some of the hard things easy, similar to Elixir, with like the Go routines, that concurrency support. So yeah,
this is going to go on my testimonials. Premier Elixir developer. Go makes it easy to create sloppy applications.
Well,
no, I'm just
I think
kidding.
You can create sloppy applications in any language, but I think something
trust
like
me, I'm trying.
Something like JavaScript is, I'd say no shots fired at JavaScript developers, but I think the likelihood of slop created in JavaScript is going to be higher than in Go and Elixir.
Yeah. No comment.
It's very interesting to see the difference between the languages. I think Erlang is, because Elixir is running on an Erlang VM. It's like theoretical and completed, and the standard library is just smaller. I don't think it's a like weaker or better language. That's not an interesting comparison. I do think the scope of what the language and standard library do for you, like you said, is way smaller. And also like the compiler aspect of it, where Go, with some of the issues for Go are like, why doesn't this compile on my microwave from 1965? Which is not really a problem for these like more dynamic languages. But I will say, there is a lot of community in Go. There are a ton of events. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of whatever.
Yeah.
And we now officially welcome you as an honorary gopher, even though you're just a vibe coder.
I feel like a fraud, but thank you.
No, you passed the test. You passed the test.
I have to say one thing I like about Elixir over Go is the name. It's easier to Google. Go is a cute name, and there's all sorts of puns, but it's so hard to Google for it.
Yeah, you do have like better branding, I think, with the gopher, the mascots and stuff like that.
Yeah, the mascot's pretty good.
We have like a liquid drop as a logo. It's a bit abstract.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, the language terminology. We've got alchemy. We've got labs and stuff. Yeah.
But there is something very satisfying when you want to do stuff in Go. You just type Go in the command line. It always it gives me a lot of motivation. Go run. I'm like, yes, sir, yes, sir.
I think that's you joke, but I think that sense of joy is an important part of what language sticks for you.
I wonder if for agents, when you do Go run, it causes them to be like very, action oriented. And when you do like Elixir alchemize, it gets them more like heady and D&D style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going back to Elixir, the gremlins for the beginning of the interview.
Elixir was, I think, one of the highest rated in terms of loved languages on the Stack Overflow surveys. And I think,
we love those. We keep reviewing them every year, and every year we're like, well, these surveys are totally meaningless, but also let's talk about them for 35 minutes.
Yeah, it's good content, isn't it?
Yeah. Where can people find Crit and you online if they're interested after everything we heard and they want to try it out for themselves, which I, again, wholeheartedly recommend if you're using agentic workflows for development. Thank you.
So Crit's available at crit.md.
Great domain. What is MD? Is it like Moldova?
Yes, I didn't even know MD was a domain name you could purchase until I saw another product around Markdown using it. The first domain I went with was crit.live for that live aspect of multiplayer commenting. But yeah, that's deprecated now already 2 months later. Crit.md. My personal blog that I rarely post on is tomasztomczyk.com, and I'm on Twitter.
Don't worry, guys. We're going to have the link in the description. You're not going to have to spell Tomasz Tomczyk yourself.
Yeah. I'm on Twitter under the same name, but I don't really post that much. So yeah, if you're going to check something out, I'd love it for it to be crit.md.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing this with us. I'm going to be checking it out after the show. More than I already have. I won't be looking at the code this time. I'll be actually trying to use it.
Please look at the code. I welcome issues. I welcome pull requests.
Someone
Claude
should
review them.
Please look at the code. Someone should.
Yes, please help. Send help. But yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate the time.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on.
Program exited. Goodbye.